This is the top of the Gen 3 OU ladder at the time that this game was played. If you'll direct your attention to the right side of your screen, you will see that Errolt, the #1 player, let me pull this back up just so that for those of you who have short-term memory, is playing against me. And what team do I get the pleasure of facing off against Errolt with? It's the Blaziken team versus a lead Flygon. I mean, lead Flygon is quite rare, but that has got to be one of the worst things that Blaziken can match up into. So I have to go to Suicune to take an Earthquake. That does a good deal of damage. That tells me it's offensive, but probably I don't think banded based on that. I'll go for Surf just to catch whatever's coming in. Skarmory comes in. I will set up a Calm Mind as the Skarmory spikes. I'm threatening a pretty good Surf here, but my opponent goes to Celebi. Now I can Ice Beam, take a Leech Seed for my troubles, and I get a nice critical hit, but don't quite get the roll to kill. At this stage, I'm going to switch to Blaziken, because this seems like a utility Celebi to me, and the leftovers confirms I am faster, so I can go for a Fire Blast. My Milotic comes in. This is looking a little bit like a stall team to me. I will have to go to Suicune. Suicune deals the best with all of my Milotic's possible options. Toxic is the best into Suicune, but I can rest to get rid of that. My opponent goes immediately to Celebi. I will go to Porygon 2. My opponent Baton passes into Tyranitar. I cannot let Tyranitar Dragon Dance. So I will go for Thunder Wave. Celebi switches back in. I'll Ice Beam for damage. And the Celebi Leech Seeds. I can't really stay in with my Porygon 2, so I will go to Metagross. Baton pass from Celebi into Flygon. Flygon should live a Meteor Mash pretty comfortably, so I will switch to my own Flygon. I'll get a Substitute up. Skarmory is in. Skarmory is the toughest thing for my Flygon to deal with on this team. I go for Rock Slide and I get a Flinch, which is really nice because I can get more leftovers. I go for Rock Slide again. My opponent protects, and I'm going to possibly get back up to full there, but anticipating my opponent to spike, I will find a free turn for Blaziken to come in. Skarmory will protect on my Thunder Punch. Thunder Punch is to cover a potential Milotic switch, but at this stage, I don't want to risk the Skarmory staying in, so I will Fire Blast. I know some people would say it doesn't make a lot of sense. Like, if I was willing to risk the Thunder Punch prior to the Protect, why would I go for the Fire Blast there? Well, sometimes I think it's good to mix up your moves, and generally in that situation, I will reconsider and I will think about what the worst possible case scenario is. In my opinion, the worst case scenario there would be for Skarmory to get up the third spike. So I'm willing to get a Fire Blast into Milotic there. And if the Skarmory stays in, I will cover that and kill it as long as I hit Fire Blast, which I do. So that puts me in a pretty good position. No more spikes. 2 layers is manageable. Flygon can come in. I will go to Porygon 2, who trace the Levitate and be immune to Earthquake. I'm trying to see if this Flygon has Toxic. If it doesn't have Toxic, then my Flygon is relatively safe. If it does have Toxic, then Toxic hitting my Flygon would ruin it. My opponent goes for a Thunder Wave onto my Porygon 2. And Thunderbolts for a really good chunk. That is a modest Magneton. I can go to Flygon here. As long as my opponent doesn't have HP Ice, I'm pretty safe to do that. I will substitute up on the Milotic switch. This gives me an opportunity to get some Earthquake damage, and I do 34, which is not very much. I can go to Suicune now, and burn a sleep turn. Celebi will come in. Most likely going to Leech Seed. I will allow my Porygon 2 to get Leech Seed. Because I'm threatening to switch out and cure my paralysis because I traced the natural cure. And I do manage to do that. I switch into a Hidden Power Grass. Generally speaking, if Celebi's only going to have one attacking move, it's going to be Hidden Power Grass. Not always, but generally, that is true. My opponent goes for Leech Seed, misses. I go for Meteor Mash and miss, and then we repeat that turn, except we both hit. I'm threatening a kill with Meteor Mash, so I will take it. I Meteor Mash into the Magneton. I can't switch, and I can't let the Magneton do anything for free against me, so I have to Earthquake. Flygon comes in, and I will sack Porygon 2. Then I will go to my own Flygon. I can substitute. Earthquake into the Milotic. Surf breaks my substitute. And I can go back to Suicune and burn another turn of sleep. Celebi is in. It's at 31%. It's probably going to recover. So I will use this turn to wake up and Ice Beam. If I get a freeze, I could be in a good spot. A crit also would put me in a good spot. I would go for another Ice Beam, trying not to allow Flygon to come in for free. And then I can switch to Blaziken. I get Leech Seeded, which is probably the second worst thing that Celebi could have done to Baton Passing. I will go for a Fire Blast, threatening the Celebi, threatening a burn on the Milotic as well, but I do not get it. Now I can switch back to Suicune. My opponent goes for Toxic and misses. I will rest, anticipating another Toxic. A potential win con for me is to run the Milotic out of Toxics, because then Suicune can just set up to plus infinity on it. Celebi shows to have enough juice to 3-hit my Suicune. I will have to switch. My opponent Leech Seeds and then Baton Passes to Magneton, not allowing the Magneton to get extra Leech Seed chip on me. I went for Earthquake and kill the Magneton. Now I can save the Metagross and potentially get an explosion off on Milotic. I get an Earthquake in on the Milotic. Milotic's most likely going to recover. I can use this as an opportunity to burn another sleep turn with Suicune. Celebi comes in. Another potential win con for me is to run the Celebi out of Leech Seeds. I will stay in and rest again. I will go to Flygon here on what I perceive to not be a Leech Seed. And I'm threatening with HP Bug. I will go for it. No need to predict the Milo switch. I don't get much out of Earthquaking it. Unless I crit. I will go to Suicune. Burn some Surf PP. And then I will go to Metagross. Celebi comes in. Celebi is faster, but Hidden Power Grass will not kill me. I can go for Explosion and I get a massive chunk off on Tyranitar. It would have been really nice for me to go for Meteor Mash and just hit it on the T-Tar. That would have probably killed it, and then I could have boomed on a future switch in. However, my Metagross was so low that I didn't think I would be able to come back in on 2 layers of spikes and survive any of the weak hits. I maybe would have had to sack something to get Metagross in to make that trade. But I think that exploding into the Tyranitar was good enough. If I exploded on the Milotic, I probably just won on the spot. I will go for a Hidden Power Grass. It covers the Tyranitar and a switch to Milotic, and I get a very lucky critical hit. Now I can Thunder Punch or HP Grass again, and I HP Grass to finish off the Tyranitar. Flygon will come in on the Revenge to stop my Blaziken from picking up another kill. I can easily go to Flygon here. Against Milotic, I can get my Substitute up, and Earthquake is threatening to kill this. So my opponent will astutely switch to Flygon. But I have HP Bug and I'm behind a Substitute. My opponent also has HP Bug. My opponent actually reveals to not have an item, so in fact, Choice Band was probable, and it may have been a Jolly Choice Band Flygon in that case. I will go to Raikou now on a perceived recover from Milotic, and with one Calm Mind boost, I should be able to just win against the Celebi. Flygon comes in on a Thunderbolt, but I reveal HP Ice, which kills the Flygon. Celebi is the last hope against this Raikou. Sorry. Suicune will Leech Seed my Celebi will Leech Seed my Suicune. At this stage, I'm willing to sack the Suicune. If I sack on Celebi in, I can go to Blaziken and sack that as well to force Milo in. And then anytime that Raikou's in on Milo, I can get a Calm Mind off. Now that Celebi is in, I will get behind a Substitute, and now the game is over. So Celebi cannot break my Substitute with one Hidden Power of its own, unless it crits, which it does not. And I can simply go for another HP Ice. Celebi will be dead to Sand, except I will go for Calm Mind, predicting my opponent to recover. Now I will surely 2-hit KO. At this stage, I could go for another Substitute, or I could just take my kill on Celebi. Generally, I think the better move is to take the kill on Celebi. It stops a crit on the Substitute from leaving my Raikou low, and I'm pretty sure that +2 Raikou Thunderbolt will kill the Milotic anyway. So, as you can see, 1871 to 1836. Let's check that back there. This screenshot here, I think there was just some rounding going on with the ladder. I'm not sure. Maybe my opponent played another game or two to get into 1 point higher. But this was the #1 ranked player on the Gen 3 OU ladder, and Blaziken Guts team just won against it. Guts meaning 3 UUBL or lower on a team. It's referring to a particular challenge. I know that there was a challenge not too long ago trying to see if a player could get to 1800 with 4 UUBLs or lower on their team. We do not have that here, but this just goes to show the power of some underrated Pokemon here. 4 of these Pokemon I have made a video about: Blaziken, Flygon, Raikou, and Porygon 2. I'm using a slightly different Porygon 2 set. I'm using a timid Raikou instead of modest, and I'm using an offensive Flygon instead of my defensive Flygon. But if you want to know more about these Pokemon, please check out my previous videos. And yes, the Tetrafolium stocks are rising.